Darren Rovell, sports business reporter, working for the Action Network. If you were advising Nike, how does Nike embrace this blown-out shoe by Zion and make it work for them?
They pay him a little extra, and they make sure they sign him, and make sure he goes away quickly, Dan. I mean, listen, it's not going to be any harder to sign Zion now. They might have to pay a little bit more money. So maybe he has some more leverage in the negotiations. But
what do you do social media wise, Darren, right now? Because
right now, I mean, they're in a really tough position because, I think the jerseys were a little bit of a thing, obviously, when the jerseys were ripping in the NBA. But I think that, people knew that wasn't what you really get. It's the material. It's a different type of material. It's like no one's really worried as a fan if their jersey is going to rip. This is totally different. I mean, they make products for the athlete, by the athlete. That's what they say. And this you can't explain away what happened in the biggest college basketball game of the year to date with the audience that it was, with the biggest player that we've seen in so long. I mean, it's really very difficult, and that's why it took probably till midnight, 12:30, for their statement to come out, because it was something that, as much as Nike has done, it was difficult to handle.
Did you call Nike for a statement?
About 30 seconds after he walked off the court. You know me. Did I call? Of course I did.
And you said that you wouldn't be surprised if that stock took a little bit of a hit. It's down 1%, a little over 1%, I think.
Yeah, I mean, the market's down a little bit, but and it's not really a business per se thing in terms of does it affect dollars and would people say they wouldn't buy Nike, but it's definitely a brand equity type of thing where you're like, how could this possibly happen on the stage that it has? Some people were saying, it's a Paul George shoe, which it is the cheapest Nike signature shoe that exists at $110, but I don't think it's a fall apart type shoe. But yeah, no, this is certainly an interesting situation for them, and I don't know how they're going to deal with it. I'm sure they're going to take those shoes. Those shoes are not going to be auctioned off, Dan. They're going to take those shoes. They're going to bring in a Beaverton, Oregon headquarters, see what happened, and I don't know if they'll report. If it's something that is positive, they'll report it back. But if it's negative, we'll just never hear about it.
What's the insurance policy that Zion Williamson has at Duke?
So you can get a loss of value insurance policy, which protects you if you fall in the draft. But for Zion, it's basically useless. Duke buys all the insurance policies for the players. I think with the exception of R.J. Barrett, who actually he came in with an insurance policy. He got his senior year in high school that takes him all the way through his first year. But for the most part, for the last 5 years, colleges have been doing these insurance policies. An $8 million policy for Zion cost Duke about $50,000. It's all above board. It's part of the rules. It's part of getting a player. But again, he would start collecting at pick number 17. So given what we know of the injury, and even if he injured himself worse, you couldn't imagine that he would ever fall there. So it is protection, but I don't think it'll ever be used.
Has an athlete collected on an insurance policy?
Yes. Ifo Ekprealamu from Oregon did. Who collected? Marquise Lee collected from USC. There's been a couple, but that's important for the insurance industry to know. There's been guys who've collected on disability, which is like you never play again. But the more recent product is this loss of value, where the way it works is they basically project where you're going to go. You sign the insurance policy, and then they tell you, okay, like 15 or 20 picks after that, that's when the clock starts going, the money starts coming in. So it's been collected. The problem is, though, with Zion Williamson, Duke insures them for $8 million. But what's he really worth? I mean, he's probably worth $80 million. So he might be worth $8 million to Duke, but they're really not giving him the full value. And that's going to be the next debate, even though there's only so many Zion Williamsons. The other thing is when Duke, and this is a technicality, but I think it's fun to talk about in a geeky way. So when Duke pays the insurance policy, these insurance policies, if you pay the premium on the policy, it is tax-free. You collect your money tax-free, unless the school pays for it, and then you have to pay taxes on it. So for some of these players, if they do have money, it's actually worth it for them to pay for the policy instead of the school.
You're such a sports business nerd.
And I love it.
I know. And we appreciate it. Hey, great to catch up with you, Darren. Thanks for joining us.
Hi.
That's Darren Rovell, the Action Network sports business reporter.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV or download the Dan Patrick Show app.